YouTube, what the crap's going on? You know, right when you think you've seen just about all there is to be cheesed by the vampires, then someone shows you something different. So this guy here recognized me, and I was like, well, he's probably not going to bring a typical vampire cheese, having recognized the video that I put up yesterday. But I still took, you know, some units that can handle flyers in case he was flying around with vampires, just in case. But then when I saw his army, I was like, what? What is this? It looks like the old Swaby blob that I used to have, so I was like, oh, this ought to be interesting. And, you know, at first I was like, really, what's this? This is going to be so easy to kill. I've got all these demigryphs with halberds. I was like, and he's all blobbed up. I was like, am I missing something here? I mean, he can still Spirit Leech, he can still Fate Abuna, but I just didn't understand why you'd want to ball up. Now, of course, if you look at the combination of units here, there is something interesting going on. And it's the fact that he's got all this armor piercing mixed with poison. The crypt horrors regenerate. The wraiths are ethereal or whatever you want to call them. So they're ghost. So they ignore a decent amount of physical damage. And then within the ball, he's got von Karstein on this Barded Nightmare here. And he's also got a Necromancer and a Banshee. Very interesting choices there. Here's the Banshee. You can see it kind of like swirling around the battlefield. So I was really at a little bit of a loss for this because I haven't really studied much into what the Necromancer can do. But after having looked at it after the battle, the Necromancer focuses basically on raising the dead and replenishing hit points and basically being able to affect enemy units and, you know, units in their own army. So they don't really have a lot of offensive magic, and it's lore of vampires that they use, not lore of death. And a lot of people have pretty much written off lore of vampires. And I have to show you this battle because it is very interesting. Now, I've got 4 demigryph knights with halberds, 7 spears, 2 empire captains on a Pegasus, and an empire general on his imperial griffin. So he does have 1 Vargeist out here, which I'm guessing he just takes these units as a distraction. I'm going to chase it down, and then I'm going to bring my general over here to go after these guys, and I'm going to attempt to surround his little blob here. And I figure if I can surround it, I can kill the leadership of the vampires. Though I believe that any unit that causes terror, like the wraiths, is immune to psychology, but you can still kill their morale by surrounding them and decisively winning a victory. But just watch the spells here. This is important. Let's watch the spells he's casting. I keep waiting to get Spirit Leeched, but right there he's cast the Invocation of the Heck. So it's basically he's just planning on replenishing all the hit points that I'm taking away. And so when I get into combat, he's got this interesting combination of poison and armor piercing. And so although he's in this very awkward, weird blob, it means that his guys will be causing a lot of damage. And the ethereal units, they can actually kind of pull through and do weird stuff. So they're interesting in that regard, and they ignore a lot of physical attacks. I mean, they aren't invulnerable, but they do ignore quite a few physical attacks. You can see that he just keeps casting the Invocation of Nehek, and it's basically I'm doing a horrendous amount of damage to his army, but they're just shrugging it off. Like, look at these wraiths. Every time they get damaged, they just come right back. My physical attacks on the wraiths can't damage them fast enough to overcome the Invocation of Nehek that he puts in there, which is very, very interesting. And of course, crypt horrors regenerate, and so does von Karstein. So here he is. At least I think he regenerates. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe it's just an ability he has. But in any case, it looks like right off the bat, I was like, I'm kicking the crap out of these guys. This is going to be an easy battle. And the longer this wears on, I start to realize that something very wrong is happening. These guys are surrounded, but they just won't die. And it's because he keeps casting this Invocation of Nehek. So this is a different kind of vampire cheese here, one that I haven't run into before, and I'd have to think a little bit about the best way to counter it. Because it is interesting to see someone actually make the lore of vampires useful for something. So this is still a, you know, what I would consider a somewhat cheesy vampire rush, but I'm definitely going to, I don't know if this guy created this army. He may have, he may not have, but I'm definitely going to give him credit for, this is certainly creative in the sense that it takes these different units, each with different abilities and capabilities. Like I said, so right now the Cairn Wraiths are dealing all this armor-piercing magic attack damage. And his general, of course, is basically just holding the men together, and he keeps casting the Invocation of Nehek, which just keeps replenishing HP, which is negating a lot of the damage I've done. My guys, on the other hand, cannot regenerate, and so basically it's like this war of attrition. He can just keep going and going for as long as he can. Eventually my guys will peter out and die, and his guys will be healed for long enough to win the combat, essentially. There was a little fight back here between the skeleton spears and my spears, and that's no problem for me. These two crossbowmen didn't end up being a ton of value, but I'm just trying to pour extra damage into this fight. So we get rid of all the crypt horrors, and even still at this point I was thinking like, he's running away, I'm going to be in pretty good shape. Some of his guys were fading and starting to crumble because they're pulling out of that combat, and again you can see that all the ethereal units there pretty easily able to pull out of combat because they're just not like real physical. And at this point I definitely should have pursued him and kept up the chase because I had his guys fading, but I was like, you know what, I can let my guys rest for a minute. I was feeling very confident at this point, so let's fast forward and I'll just kind of show you what he does. His guys are very tired, they're drained, they're running around the battlefield like crazy, so I was like, you know what, if I just let him go chase these spears, I'll rest all my guys, and when it comes around for a second round, we'll kill off von Karstein real quick and it should be easy. And von Karstein is damaged a little bit, and he's had to have used a lot of his magic reserve. I can't tell how much because they don't show that in the replay. It's something they need to add. The Banshee's over here. I think the Banshee may regenerate too. I don't know. Anyway, he's got these units, so he brings up von Karstein. I thought he was going to Spirit Leech me, so I pulled away real quick, but I don't think he's used Spirit Leech here. At least not yet. So he just keeps kind of pulling around like this and just kind of moving around. The Wraiths are pretty quick. He's getting around fairly quick with them, and eventually I kind of pin him down again with my Demigryph Knights, and I bring in my Spears. I'm going to bring in my Paladins, and see how he kind of just pulls out of this fight right away so that he's not entirely surrounded. And again, you can see his ethereal units here just, I mean, they bounce off my guys a little bit, but he doesn't seem to have a whole lot of problem, like, extracting them from the fight. It does hit their morale, but as he extracts them from the fight, he can keep his guys safe. So I come in here and I get some really good hits on von Karstein, but he does a really good job the whole battle of anytime von Karstein gets engaged, he just starts spamming orders to run away, and then the Cairn Wraiths block my men while von Karstein kind of moves away. So see right there, von Karstein very nearly dies, but he pulls those Cairn Wraiths back in, and then you can see the invocation of Nehek once again being dropped on his men, and he's replenishing his hit points as fast as I can dish them. Or damage him, that's what I should say. So yeah, you can see here that von Karstein actually gains hit points out of that whole scenario, whereas slowly my Empire captains are being killed. So I bring in my general, and I punch von Karstein in the face pretty hard right there. He did Spirit Leech me, I believe. Yeah, he finally Spirit Leeches me, and it actually doesn't kill me, surprisingly. It gets very close. And von Karstein just about kicks the bucket there. But my general routs at the last second, and von Karstein is going to start regenerating. So I was like, holy crap, this battle just completely turned against me there because I can't kill his stupid Wraiths. I wonder if they're regenerating too. If they stand still long enough for me to see. I can't hardly tell right now. Yeah, they are regenerating, so the Wraiths regenerate too. So basically he's just going to run around and regenerate at this point. He can run around with all these units and get hit points back. So that's kind of what this army is based on, which is interesting. It almost kind of feels more like the undead in a way. Like they just keep staying like undead rather than being permanently dead. So, I mean, this was an interesting use of this army. I hadn't seen this before. If you have seen this before, let me know. If you have successfully countered it before, let me know what you think. This is a different kind of vampire cheese. And like I said, this is certainly a creative use of armor-piercing damage. Here I was trying to snipe out von Karstein. If I could snipe off von Karstein, this battle will certainly be over. And my charges damaged him very badly. But again, because of the regeneration and the fact that he can just use all his Wraiths to push me away, it's going to be challenging. I lost most of my Demigryph Knights, so it's going to be really challenging for me to pin him down. But obviously, I think that the key in this one is I didn't bring a Light Wizard. It would definitely be hard to hit von Karstein whenever he's on the ground like that and shielded by all these other units. But, you know, even right now, just having a Shim's Burning Cheese probably could have punched him with it, so I think that would have been a slightly better pick, is to maybe give up one of my Empire captains for a Shim's Burning Cheese Light Wizard. And that would have helped. But at the same time, you know, I mean, this is, like I said, this is kind of a crafty army. Clever use of the regeneration ability, the terror ability that comes from the Cairn Wraiths, armor piercing, magic attacks. Things that don't normally pan out well for the vampires. Again, I definitely like the use that he got here. Now, we got very close to killing von Karstein, and if I would have killed von Karstein, his little army here definitely would have been finished, and it got very close. But like I said, his plan here did end up working out, albeit narrowly, and it was, like I said, it was a fairly crafty plan. You can see all these units around von Karstein actually kind of protect him from the damage, and I have a hard time charging him. See how he keeps moving von Karstein around so that my guys miss their charge? And then I have to get back up in the air. So again, a lot of crafty micromanagement here where he's using the Cairn Wraiths to kind of block the damage from my crossbows and other units, keep making it very hard for me to charge von Karstein. You can see my guys continually miss their charges on von Karstein, and all the while he is replenishing his hit points. I scored a hit there, but he's going to end up replenishing. There comes the Master of the Black Arts, so he's going to boost the attack on all his men, which is actually a pretty good time to do so. It's going to make his Cairn Wraiths very deadly here. And I just cannot bring down von Karstein. And all he has to do is kind of turn around and attack me at this point. He will probably win. I just don't think that I have the hitting power left to take out von Karstein as he continues to heal. And you see he just kind of continually keeps von Karstein moving. My spears will have almost minimal effect on his Cairn Wraiths, so he's relatively safe in that regard, and I keep missing my charges. There, I finally land a charge on von Karstein. But now my Pegasus gets stuck because he kind of keeps von Karstein right next to these Cairn Wraiths. So again, a clever protection of his general. My guys all rout as soon as I lose one of those Empire captains. So he's going to take this one home. And as you look at it here, I mean, the Cryptors got absolutely crapped on. The Vargheists got crapped on. The Skeletons got crapped on. I mean, a lot of his guys didn't even get a particularly large number of kills, but I didn't field a particularly large number of men here either, and a lot of my men just routed at the end. The Banshee got some one-on-one kills versus the Spears. I mean, again, none of these units in and of themselves very amazing. It's the Cairn Wraiths, though, ended up getting a lot of kills over time, and if you look, I mean, they picked up a Chevron, every one of them, and a lot of them, I assume, and if you look at the Demigryph Knights, enough damage dealt that this one double Chevron. This one's Chevron, this one's Chevron. So these guys clearly dealt a lot of damage, even though they didn't get many kills. And so they chevroned up off of it. And you can see, though, a lot of kills over here in the Skeleton Spearmen and nothing there because it wasn't impressive. So, I mean, it's interesting to see that I dished enough damage with the Demigryphs to level up, but his guys just didn't die, except for the Cryptors. And the big part of it is because with the regeneration and with the invocation of Nehek, coupled with the fact that these ethereal units ignore a lot of physical damage, it makes that whole gambit a little bit challenging. What might be interesting against an army like that would once again almost be Bretonnia in my mind. And the reason I say that is because I'm pretty sure that the Pegasus Knights and the Grail Knights have magic attacks, and it would actually wreck the Wraiths pretty quickly, I think. So once again, I almost kind of feel like if I was just going to have to figure it out on my own here for a second, I kind of feel like, let's see, is this guy, I mean, I would think these guys do magic damage. That's a melee attack, weapon strength, armor piercing damage, 140, weapon damage, 290. I don't know, it doesn't say they have magic damage there. They do have flaming swords, though. Yeah, these guys deal magic damage. So the Grail Knights do. And it says the Pegasus Knights do not. I was kind of thinking they did, but apparently they do not. But yeah, Grail Knights dealing that kind of magic damage might be good, along with that 74 charge bonus. That should help them inflict a lot of damage. I'm just kind of curious now. I might actually go do a test. This guy's got me thinking on this one. I'll give him credit for that. I mean, it was definitely a different and creative use of the already somewhat cheesy vampire tactics that are out there, and honestly, I'm not saying I like what he did there. It's not super exciting in the sense that it's not a ton of fun to play against, but I'm intrigued by it, and I'm kind of impressed that he came up with you know, such a clever use of what everybody else has just written off as crap, which is the lore of the vampires. So most people would have just written off that lore as being garbage. So let's just stick a couple of Cairn Wraiths out here. I want to see, heck, let's put multiples and see if they're any good. Why can't we start the battle? Oh, because it erased my army. Thank you very much. So the cost trade-off on this ought to be actually a little bit in favor of the vampires, but should be fairly close. Let's check it out real quick. Just want to charge these Grail Knights in here and see if they do any good. Now keep in mind though that he originally had Crypt Horrors mixed in, so that could play a difference in the fact that they will poison units and drop their attack. Immune to psychology, and they can hide in the forest. So these guys will not suffer terror either, which is certainly not a bad thing. Let's move up King Lewin. Move up our Grail Knights. Okay, I'm gonna try and let's see what happens when we use the magic attacks on these Cairn Wraiths. I'm assuming the damage will be pretty severe. Yes, it is. It's extremely severe. So yeah, it looks like the Grail Knights would certainly be a feasible answer to the Cairn Wraiths. And then you can come in here and try and let's see what spells are being cast. Come out here and pin down Von Karstein. Now he would be on a horse and a little bit harder to catch, but I mean, you can see here that the damage the Grail Knights deal to the Cairn Wraiths is much more substantial because the Cairn Wraiths can't just ignore the magical damage coming off the Grail Knights. So basically, if you wanted to counter this, you would want to look for units that have magical damage. So anything that would do magical damage here would be helpful against the Cairn Wraiths because they have relatively low hit points to begin with, but that's mainly because they ignore so much physical damage. So yeah, I don't know that Grail Knights are definitely the right answer because I don't know how they perform against Crypt Horrors, but you can see that they easily mop up Cairn Wraiths because of the magic attack of their flaming lances. So yeah, interesting bit there. Tell me what you all think in terms of, like I said, just other potential counters to an army like that. And kudos to my opponent. I mean, I think he left a comment like saying he was hoping to teach me something. He definitely got me thinking after that one. That one's interesting. Haven't seen that. Maybe it's existed for a while, but I haven't seen it. I appreciate the game from him, and I appreciate the opportunity to make me think about another potential threat from the vampires that I hadn't considered. HeirofCarthage signing off.